On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, we are very honored to have one of our nation's foremost educators, promoter of reading and math and all things that can help get our young people on the right way educationally, K through 12. Jessie Woolley-Wilson.
That's right, Jessie Woolley-Wilson. It's a mouthful.
Yes, we're so pleased to have Jessie Woolley-Wilson, the CEO, President and CEO of Dreambox Learning.
I'm happy to be here. Delighted to be with you, Dr. Chavis.
Well, thank you so much. And on behalf of the NNPA, we welcome you. A number of our publishers of African-American owned newspapers across the country and other media owners are so interested in the subject matter we're going to discuss, education, particularly K through 12. And I know you have a lot of expertise on focus on math as well as reading. We're both grant recipients of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We appreciate their support of our efforts to better inform the public, and particularly parents as well as students, of the importance of getting a good education. So tell me, Jessie, how did you, where are you originally from? I saw in Texarkana, Texas.
I was born in Texas. I was born in Texarkana, but I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, so back east.
Okay, well, that's a big switch. And now you're in the state of Washington.
That's right outside of Seattle.
How did you first get involved in education?
So, I was working in New York City in banking, and I tutored young men and women who were in middle school or high school, who were from less advantaged backgrounds. And it became very obvious to me after not very much time that talent existed everywhere, but opportunity did not. And it occurred to me that the bridge between talent and opportunity is education. It's not the only thing that matters, but it's a big influencer in future outcomes for students, for families, for future generations, especially in the minority community.
Very good. What is the mission of Dreambox Learning?
So our mission is bold. We want to radically transform the way the world learns by unlocking the learning potential of every child, regardless of their start in life, regardless of what zip code they live in, and frankly, regardless of what language they speak at the table when they have a meal. And we really believe that every child has promise, and that if we can figure out a way to personalize the learning experience so that it's engaging, it's relevant to them, and meets them where they are, so it's neither too difficult nor too easy, that we can have embedded incentive for them to pursue and to persist through challenge toward proficiency. Very
good. So you are the chair of the board, the president, and the CEO of Dreambox Learning. How has been the call and response around the country? Because I know you're based in Washington. You really have reached across the United States.
We've reached across the United States, indeed across North America. So we have partnerships with school districts in Canada all the way to Mexico. We're in every state, and including the District of Columbia. And we even have, now that we're in the reading space, we have some customers across the pond in the UK. So this is something that in the beginning, when we started in 2006, was not really understood that well. When people said adaptive learning, people said, well, what's that? How's that going to help me if I'm a teacher? How's that going to help me if I'm a parent? How's that going to help me if I'm a student? And so it's really not about the technology itself. It's really about what the technology can do in concert with learning guardians of all types, be it a parent or a principal or a tutor or a teacher or even an administrator. We feel like technology can do something unique, which is to customize the content, to customize the learning experience. Because if you imagine, think about the best teacher you ever had when you were in school. That teacher had 20 or 30 kids in the classroom. How does even the best teacher with the best resources, how does she customize and personalize learning for every student at the same time? It's not possible. Well, that's where technology can come in and help that learning guardian so that it can do what technology does best, while complementing what the teacher does best in her live instruction. So this is not a technology that's designed to replace a teacher. It's designed to augment the impact of a teacher. It's very important. That's a very important part of our philosophy.
That's a very interesting dynamic because, sometimes in particular, people of color communities, there's sometimes a little fear of technology as being supplanting opportunity rather than enhancing opportunity. I know in the publishing world, a lot of our publishers know that, we're in a digital age, and sometimes people feel that the new technology is going to put our print businesses out of business. But in fact, what we found is that the digital space has actually made what we do as content providers much more valuable.
Yes.
So it hasn't put us out of business. It can expand the revenue streams. But going down to education, your experience in reading and math, can you explain to our listening audience the intersection of reading and mathematics?
So a lot of people have been watching and seeing data, the national report card that shows that all students now, post the pandemic, are behind. They've lost learning opportunity over the last few years. But people in the minority community don't think this is a new phenomenon because we've been struggling with this for generations. What's new about this is that it's impacting all students, including less advantaged students. And so what we do know is if we can help prepare students for confidence and competence in math and reading, that will be a wonderful and strong foundation for their lifelong learning journeys. It's important for students to be able to read with good comprehension. And it's also important for students to have basic math skills. You can't read and not understand math. You can't have math and not be able to read. So there's a lot of other topics that are very important, but we believe at Dreambox that if we can give a strong foundation in numeracy, computation, in mathematics, as well as in reading, both learn how to read and then to leverage your publications to learn to read from learning, to learn from reading. If we can do both of those things, then that is a solid foundation to cultivate lifelong learners so that they can drive their own learning throughout their whole lifetimes with confidence.
Well, great. That's good to hear. We hear from a number of our publishers from around the country in the NNPA that parents and students enhance their reading by reading our newspapers.
Yes.
And they read the whole paper. They just don't read the headline or the character. I think being the trusted voice of Black America for all these years, this year, Jessie, we're celebrating the 196th year of the Black press. Since 1827, since Freedom's Journal was first published in New York City in March of 1827, Black press has been on the front line, not only reporting the news, which is important, but also an advocate for striving for excellence, and certainly an advocate for equal education. As you know, there was still a lot of hurdles we've had to get over just to get access to a good, high quality education. And now, as you referenced, the post-pandemic has caused a real situation in many of our communities.
Many of our communities, and a lot of people don't realize that right now in the United States of America, only 7% of students of color have a Black teacher in the classroom.
7%?
7%. 7% of teachers, right? And what we also know is that about 13% of those that do have just one Black teacher are more likely to complete high school, and 19% who have exposure to a Black teacher are more likely to matriculate to college. So what is relevant matters. The reason why your publications are helping reading is because your publications are relevant to the lives of the people who are reading it. We have to make sure that education, the education experience, is also relevant to all students. There's a demographic imperative underway in the United States. We're becoming browner and Blacker, and yet our teacher corps is not. And so we need to make sure that what we do remains relevant. So technology can try to approximate that by making sure that everybody feels comfortable within the technology, even as simple as the avatar that you choose to represent you within the technology has to look like you and feel
Yes.
like you and feel relevant. And it
Has been
might
culturally sensitive.
culturally sensitive, and it might feel like it's a minor point, but if it means that that child is going to have a sense of belonging and maybe they're going to feel more comfortable, that translates into persistence in learning, and that translates into life and learning success. So it's all important.
I viewed your interview with Bill Gates. I thought it was fascinating that as president and CEO of Dreambox Learning, you had this opportunity to engage Bill Gates about their funding, but also they're putting a priority on getting education standards raised and engagement raised around the world, but particularly here in the United States. It's interesting that we live in the most richest, most technological society in the world. You mentioned the browning of America, but you know, the browning of educational opportunity still seems to be lagging.
Yes, well, we're very focused on shining a light on excellence. And we're very, very proud of the amazing results we're getting in places where people don't necessarily think of educational excellence. They should, but they don't. And we like to say they don't yet. So we recently published a study of 77,000 fourth and fifth graders, 77,000. Very few other content companies like Dreambox, technology companies like Dreambox have such a sizable study. And it shows that students who use Dreambox just for 1 hour a week, 5 lessons, 1 hour a week, dramatically improved their scores in mathematics. And so 7 students might be a fluke, maybe 700 students might be a fluke, but 77,000 students in South Carolina, in some of the least well-served communities, that is not a fluke. As I said in the beginning, talent exists everywhere, and it's our privilege to be able to showcase it, but I think it's our national opportunity to be able to leverage it. We have to cultivate it, we have to leverage it, we have to honor it, we have to tout it, we have to celebrate it.
So Jessie, I know our publishers' antennas went up. How can they, is the study online, how can they see the results of this marvelous study that you're quoting?
Oh, it's online. They can go to dreambox.com and they can see that and a number of other studies that we have on William Penn School District outside of Pennsylvania, Pinellas in Florida. I mean, there are so many studies that validate and revalidate the impact of Dreambox learning. And that's on top of some of the independent studies that we've done at Harvard or SRI, Stanford, or at Johns Hopkins. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's what matters most is what works. And after the pandemic, there were there was a big expansion of a lot of ed tech products to the point where I think the average district on a monthly basis accesses something like 1,400 ed tech products. Can you imagine? 1,400. And so at the end of the day, district leaders, district administrators, superintendents, instructional leaders are going to have to decide what they keep and what they let go. And we're making a bet at Dreambox that what they're going to keep is what works. Yes. And so this has been something that's been part of our ethos, our philosophy, and our commitment to our learning partners to make sure that what we're asking them to do at Dreambox is something that we have confidence and we have proof works. And so we hope that the pendulum is swinging toward away from what's easy, maybe, but doesn't work, to what works and is very engaging. And that's where we lead. And so we invite the scrutiny, and we are confident that what happened in South Carolina can happen in local communities all across the United States.
Well, we're very proud of you, Jessie Woolley-Wilson. You know, you're a dynamic Black woman leading. And like I say, all children, not only Black children, but all children can benefit from Dreambox. You mentioned striving for excellence,
yes,
attaining excellence. And of course, one of the things we love to do in the Black press, we want to highlight these excellent stories, these stories of achieving excellence.
Yes.
You know, and so we want to stay in touch with you. Thank you for doing this particular interview. But to me, you have a wealth of archival excellent stories that we need to be publishing all over the country, because one of the things we find, particularly on social media right now, Jessie, so many young people get so much misinformation, information that even discourages whether or not they should seek an education. You know, I run into some young brothers and sisters all the time. Say, hey man, you know, I can hustle, I can stack my paper, I don't need to go to school, I can just learn how to hustle. Well, what is your enduring message to the youth of America, particularly to Black youth, about the importance of striving for education and striving for excellence?
This is what I would say to all youth, particularly Black youth. You are worthy. You are worthy of the best education, the best life outcomes, the best experiences. And you will be able to prepare yourself for the luck that might come your way if you're best prepared for it. So we can't control the luck that happens in our life, but we can control being ready for it when it presents itself. And the best way to be ready for luck when it presents itself is to be prepared. And the best way to be prepared is to be educated. And you should know in your bones that talent exists everywhere, and that includes inside of you. And the best way to manifest that talent is to educate yourself, to take advantage of the education that is afforded to you, and to soar.
Very good. Lastly, Jessie Woolley-Wilson, President and CEO of Dreambox Learning. Today, what gives you your greatest hope?
Youth. I will tell you that when I'm most frustrated and when I'm in my darkest, most pessimistic moments, and we've had some challenging moments in these United States the past handful of years, I spend time with young people, because young people represents hope to me. Young people represents possibilities. They're forming and they are passionate. They have a keen sense of justice. They have a keen sense of what's possible, and they're willing to make personal sacrifices to make things better. So our shared future depends on us cultivating these young people and making sure that we can connect their hopes and aspirations with what's within reach for them. They are worthy.
Very good. Jessie Woolley-Wilson, thank you so much for joining the National Newspaper Publishers Association broadcast. We wish you well, and looking forward to us getting even more information from Dreambox Learning for all the various accounts of your success stories. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I really appreciate what you've done for generations to make sure that the news is relevant. So thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
Take care now.